How is so? Here we are. Another lunar mission. They're telling us is coming up. NASA had a press conference yesterday that was just proof of that they're an amazing organization and they throw the best press conferences in the world. Now, before I get started, let me tell you that I'm a massive fan of space travel, and I have nothing but tremendous admiration for all the really amazing people involved in the space programs, not just NASA, but also many others. I'm fascinated by it, always have been. Now, the biggest complaint I ever had about it was not this whole never a straight answer thing, but the fact that they were always heavily weaponized and politicized. That always bothered me. It really, really bothered me when that happened. There were, and there was much of the space shuttle program was basically tainted by Ronald Reagan's Star Wars, the weaponization of space initiative. But having said that, other things, particularly interplanetary probes, have been incredible, from New Horizon to Voyager and all the ones in between. They're just astounding. And that to me is what the greatest aspect of space travel is, not seeing space as a resource, but seeing space as a sense of wonder, as a place of discovery. And as you know, as a pagan, space to me is just as sacred and just as infused with a sense of spirituality as anything on this planet. Now, the press conference yesterday was a classic piece of modern wokeness. They showed off a new spacesuit that's going to be used in 2024 for the Artemis manned mission to the moon. And they made a big deal out of the fact that it was going to be a woman was going to go there. So that was just pure pandering, pure wokeness, pure bullshit. See, for years they were pushing, remember on your man Henson, they were pushing the global warming thing massively at NASA. There have always been parasites. Now, part of this is driven out of necessity because after, what happened with the Apollo missions was when they ended, the public didn't really care. They really didn't care because subconsciously that Lovecraftian notion that we were not meant to travel far had sunk into our subconscious minds that this planet is where we belong, not on other planets. That's a kind of a nihilistic thing that we'll destroy this planet one day. We'll have to find new places to live. That's a very Abrahamic, as you see in my other video called on Space Israel, that we're going to destroy this planet to find the new promised land on Mars. Now, this I can remember back in the 80s, no, not in the 80s, in the 90s, they were even talking about finding the cure for AIDS in on the space stations. Anything they could actually pander to in terms of cashing in, they always did that. And that's part of the thing as well. I mean, that's part of how NASA functions also. This 2024 mission is only, what, 4 years away? They don't even have a rocket to get to the moon. They don't even have a rocket. Now, the only rocket that can get them to the moon with the technology they have today, and I know there's all these things people talk about secret technology and all this, but I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just talking about what we know. The Saturn V did it. The Saturn V is essentially a bomb with a tiny little bit at the top that was the spaceship. Tiny little thing at the top of the spaceship. The rest of it was all fuel. That's all it was. Just to get it out into Earth orbit, just to deliver the payload into the low gravity or no gravity environment of space, outside the space orbit. They have nothing like that. They have nothing. There's loads of reasons why a Saturn V couldn't be built today. One would be environmental things. The amount of pollution those things kicked up was astounding. Even in the 70s, when there were people driving around, Americans were driving around in cars the size of, like, small cruise liners, guzzling gas and spewing out leaded pollution. Even back in the 70s and the late 60s and 70s, they were very concerned about the sheer level of pollution created by a single Saturn V launch. So that's one of the reasons they can't do it. This kerosene will just the amount of toxins and emissions. They can't be talking about reducing the carbon. Well, they are elitists. They talk on two sides of their cheeks, faces, but they just can't do it. They haven't got the rocket. They're not even having a rocket. And I looked at the rocketry things in development. If you go to their site, it's all very vague. It's all like the cover of Popular Science magazine type research, like literally the back of an envelope designs. There's not anything serious. So the 2024 Apollo mission is not going to happen. It's just one more NASA woke press conference that gets everybody excited. Like a few years ago, they said they were going to Mars. Where's all that gone? Quietly shelved, and it never was. And this is not true either. This is just something that NASA can keep in the public confidence by pandering to this modern modern thing, this modern sense of wokeness and everything. Now, I want to talk about what's really interesting about NASA. There's absolutely no doubt that they cut their live feeds on so many broadcasts when strange things show up. The most famous one being the famous tethered incident, where they were basically trying to see if they could get power from space, from radiation in space. And they ran a long metal wire out of the space shuttle towards a satellite. And when they connected it, it produced so much power that they were in danger of the space shuttle going on fire. But more interesting than that was, as soon as the tether was energized, all these things started swarming towards it. And you can actually hear the astronaut who's doing it. There's the tether. You can actually see him going like this. Hear it in his inflection in his voice. The cognitive dissonance was astounding, absolutely astounding. You can feel it in there. You can feel it. Like. And then the UFO crowd were all saying, "Oh, it's alien spaceships. It's alien spaceships." Now, NASA and the rest of them are very happy for you to believe that they're alien spaceships. They're not. I know what they are. They're animals. There has been reports of critters in space from the earliest Gemini missions. There are animals living outside the Earth's atmosphere, just as in the same way. They look almost like jellyfish, these things on the video, on the famous tethered video. Just in the same way that animals live in the bottom of the oceans. Life is remarkably diversified. It can survive incredible differences in environment. I am convinced that what happened was that tether either attracted these critters, these jellyfish-like creatures that live in space, or the power from the thing actually energized them and we could see them clearly, whatever kind of matter they're made from. It energized them. But they're all the same shape, a circle with kind of a notch taken out of them. And they're moving in all different directions, but according to NASA, it's just dust, and they're going like this, being moved by the thrusters. They're literally swimming around a fucking tether. And the cognitive dissonance of NASA narration is unbelievable. Before they cut the feed, before someone at mission control said, "Shut that fucking thing off," and they'll find that Darwinism is a load of bullshit. And that's what that was really about. So the NASA 2024 thing is not real, it's not true, and it's just another one of their woke things. And that doesn't mean I'm anti-space travel. I absolutely love the idea of space travel, but interstellar unmanned probes, interplanetary unmanned probes, incredible stuff has been sent back. But yeah, we're dealing with something it's a big farce. There's a lot of truth to people who say never a straight answer. NASA in so many ways is a big ballet, a big theater, a big charade. And watch, when 2024 comes, there won't be any Artemis mission to the moon. They will have stopped that, and they will be talking about, and there'll be another couple of press conferences in between talking about going to Jupiter or Mars or whatever, anything. They make these press conferences, they make them as woke as possible, and then they try to whip up as much PR as possible, and then they quietly put them to sleep. And that's exactly what that whole thing yesterday was. Watch. 2024, I mark my words, they will not go to the moon. There isn't a rocket to get them there. It's as simple as that.